So steak tips can be pretty tough unless they are really well marinated and properly cooked. But if they are, they can be really delicious. So I have about a pound here that I'm marinating with a quarter cup of sesame oil, a quarter cup of coconut aminos, and a quarter cup of honey. If you don't have coconut aminos, you can use liquid aminos or tamari. And then you're going to refrigerate this for about 2 hours or up to overnight to make sure that the flavor really infuses into the steak. And once you go to cook it, that honey is going to really help create the caramelized crust that we're going for on the steak tips. So I have removed the steak after it's marinated from the marinade and let any excess drip off and place that in a separate bowl. And I am going to prepare a large cast iron pan to cook those in. First, I have half of an onion here. I love to use sweet onions whenever I can find them, but if you can't, you can use a yellow or brown onion. And I've added in 3 tablespoons of avocado oil and an additional 3 tablespoons of coconut aminos. I've gone ahead and put the onion in, and I have 1 clove of garlic here that I am finely chopping. And once that's chopped, I'm going to add it in with the onion and give them a good stir with the avocado oil and coconut aminos over medium heat to let them cook for about a minute or two. What I'm going for is trying to get the onions just slightly translucent and to the point that they're almost starting to caramelize before I add in the steak tips. So they're good to go now. I'm going to add in the steak and give that a stir. Let that cook for just about a minute until it starts to slightly brown. And then I'm going to add in a couple more ingredients to really boost the flavor. I have 2 limes here, and I am going to zest both of those into the steak and onion and garlic mixture. I'm also going to juice the limes into that mixture and get as much juice as I possibly can out of both of the limes. And once those are in, I'm going to add in 1 tablespoon of coconut sugar. What that's going to do is really help develop that caramelized crust that I'm going for. It's going to be hard to tell in this video, but if you can achieve it, it makes for really delicious flavor and a much more delicious dish. So once those limes and coconut sugar have been mixed in, I'm going to let this cook for about another 2 to 3 minutes, stirring occasionally. I do not want to overcook the steak tips or they can become pretty tough. But I just want to make sure that all of the flavors infuse well together. And as soon as it's done, I'm going to go ahead and take it off of the pan as quickly as possible and place the steak tips in a serving bowl. While the steak tips are still pretty hot, I'm going to add in my fresh basil. And the reason I like to do that is because it really helps the flavor release from the basil. The heat kind of slightly wilts it. So I use about 2 tablespoons of fresh basil, just roughly chopped. I'm going to mix that in. And as you can see in my cast iron pan, I'm leaving any leftover bits from cooking the steak and onions. And I'm going to go ahead and bring the heat up to high and add in my pineapple. I have taken half of a pineapple and thinly sliced it. I would say it's about a 1/4 inch, or you could cut them up to a 1/2 inch depending on your preference. And over high heat, what I'm going to try to do is get a good char on both sides of the pineapple, which releases a lot of delicious flavor. And once those are pretty well charred on both sides, I'm going to add several of the slices to the bowl of steak tips. But while they're cooking, I'm going to bring in the heat element. I have 1 red jalapeno here that I'm thinly slicing and just going to sprinkle that on top. You could also use a Fresno chili or whatever type of hot pepper that you like, but I like to use the red jalapenos because it's a beautiful color with the basil and the pineapple. So in using half of a pineapple, it's almost a little too much for this dish, but I like that because I like to have some extra charred pineapple to serve on the side, and it's really delicious with a yogurt. I just put it right next to yogurt and drizzle it with some raw honey, and serve it alongside the steak tips. This is great with cauliflower rice or regular rice, and I hope that you will enjoy it.